about focus. It's all about monitoring focus in terms of blurring backgrounds, being intelligent about how it handles photos and things of that nature. Just a number of really kind of fun examples. You can read a few other things that are all kind of running today, and things that you may not think conventionally that would actually run on the native devices, but it's actually there already. And we are in the very, very early stages of these smart devices that we have that just keep getting smarter and smarter and smarter. And going forward, it's very clear that when 5G comes along, 5G is going to enable a completely unique set of opportunities relative to what's going on with AI, with VR, all the things relative to machine learning. Part of that is because 5G simply is going to run at much higher speeds. It's going to allow much higher data throughput, and it's going to allow much lower latency in terms of these edge devices. And when you have those type of external factors going on inside the industry, and essentially you have sort of the perfect storm of connectivity, ML and AI needs, processing in your hand, it requires a brand new set of products to be able to address that. So when we think about the products that we are delivering for our next generation premium devices, we think about it as a platform. Okay? It's really not so much anymore about what is the CPU, or what is the GPU, or what is the neural net processor. We have to think about it holistically, because as I mentioned, with Moore's law slowing down innovation that can take place in terms of faster clock speeds, you're just going to need to have the entire concert of edge devices that work together inside this SoC. You're going to have the CPU and the GPU, the neural net processor, everything around that working together. So with that, what we're here to really talk about today is our brand new suite of products around the premium space. So it's a suite of family of products essentially intended for devices that will come out later this year, early next year, that will be in 5G phones. So the next generation of 5G, as I mentioned, is going to require a much higher degree of performance and bandwidth. These new products are going to be very well suited for that. We have the new Cortex-A77 CPU, we have the Mali-G77 GPU, we have the Mali-G77 DPU, and also our machine learning processor. This entire suite of products is going to allow our partners to build world-class devices that can go into the next generation handsets that will be 5G enabled for quite a significant step up in terms of performance. So I want to take a few minutes now and talk about a little bit of the meat of the presentation, if you will, and those are the products themselves. So the Cortex-A77 is our next generation CPU. And first off, it is a uplift in performance over the previous generation of 20%. And in fact, if we go back to 2013, which was the first Computex I attended as being part of ARM, this CPU is about 4x the performance on the big core relative to 2013. So it's a huge, huge jump up in performance. It essentially will also enable all kinds of ML or virtual reality experiences. As I mentioned before, we've seen increasing situations where the CPU is handling a lot of these workloads. So having increased performance in the CPU is extremely important. The A77 is well placed for this. And again, as I said, these will be the heart of the devices that will be in SoCs going into our 5G smartphones in 2020. Now, it doesn't stop there. We have a brand new GPU product to talk about, and this is the Mali-G77. New architecture, you can read sort of the performance numbers, a 40% uplift over the previous generation. And that's a very significant uplift in terms of performance for rendering, for mobile gaming, which continues to be a very, very taxing work case for these devices. But also, the Mali-77 device will be able to allow for increased ML performance as well. 60% ML uplift over the previous generation. That's a very, very big jump. We've done a lot of optimizations through libraries, through performance analysis, all these things that will really drive tremendous experience in terms of the overall GPU. And again, as I said, it's really, really very important to make sure that not only do we have a world-class CPU, but a world-class GPU. One of the things that changed in our strategy inside ARM a couple of years ago was really trying to get to a platform-aligned focus with all the products. Not only did that mean hitting the performance benchmarks, but making sure we were there on a schedule to have the products when our partners needed them. At the same time that we would release a high-end GPU, we wanted to have a high-end CPU at the same time. So all of that lines up. Additionally, VR, one of the new use cases around mobile going forward requires new technology in the display area. So the display, the new device that we have in the family around display is the Mali-G77. The virtual reality workloads that will now exist inside a handset will all be driven off this display driver. And there's some demos here over on the side. If you haven't experienced virtual reality before or haven't played with the experience on a handset, I would recommend that you give it a try. We've got snacks and food there on the right-hand side. I would recommend that you do the virtual reality first and do the food second, because it can have a bit of an interesting experience for you in terms of how that might look and feel. So again, we've invested very heavily in the roadmap. It's very, very critical that we have the display devices working in concert with the GPU and with the CPU. And as a result of the new technology in this device, there isn't any GPU offloading that's required. All of the workloads can take place in the D77. So when we think about this platform going forward, as I mentioned, AI, ML, 5G, VR, there are tremendous use cases that are driving the need for increased performance. And at the same time, there is a huge, huge need for devices that can have heterogeneous solutions in terms of computing and software. Later, we'll talk about some of the things that we're doing there when Ian stands up. But it was very, very important for us as we introduced these new set of products to make sure that we had best in class for each one of the target areas, both in terms of power, performance, user experience, schedule for our partners, and essentially unleashing one of the best world-class experiences that we could. So we'll talk more during Ian's part of the presentation. There's a Q&A afterward, but I really wanted to spend the first part of this little chat talking about this product line. It's really, really an exciting introduction of new products for us. And you know, the products that we build are really only any good when we have partners that use them. And one of the best partners that we have over many, many years that we work with actually here in Taiwan is MediaTek. And I've worked with MediaTek ever since I joined ARM, and I can tell you they're one of the very best partners that we work with. We had an executive meeting just a couple weeks ago with them where we went over a lot of tough issues and went over a number of things that we were trying to do as partners. And they pushed us really hard, and we pushed them, but at the end, you know, we come to a really good place together. And to that end, and Kevin and Joe, who I'm going to bring on stage in a moment, Kevin and I were together just 2 weeks ago at one of these management meetings, so it's good to see him again 2 weeks later. And with that, I'd just like to bring Kevin and Joe on stage for a few minutes. Kevin. So now we get to the interactive part of this discussion, and this should be an easier conversation than we had 2 weeks ago. So, so hopefully we can keep things amiable here. Things were really good last couple of weeks. I think, Kevin, it might be good from your perspective. You know, we've worked together for many years, and as I mentioned in the earlier part of the presentation, these products are really well suited for this next 5G generation, but you live that world. Your end partners are the people who build the handsets. How do you view this oncoming wave of technology and what that means?
Yeah, just like Renee mentioned earlier, 5G offer faster speed, more capacity, and shorter latency. That will enable the need for a lot more new applications, also to make the existing application better. that of course require better CPU, GPU, and the processors in application processor. So what we see is that this is a tremendous opportunity for the mobile industry, and I'm very proud to say that MediaTek here it will be the first one to announce the adoption of the Cortex-A77 CPU and Mali-G77 GPU in our upcoming 5G mobile SoC product that will be coming to the market in 2020.
Great, thank you. And when you think about 5G, you know, from our perspective, we have a viewpoint in terms of what end applications are going to exist that maybe didn't exist before. But from your standpoint, when you talk to people building the handsets, what are they most excited about with 5G?
Well, just better connections. It will bring whatever we still rely on wireline to do into the wireless world. So basically what you still do on your PC can be done or will be able to get done on the mobile device, whether that be a phone or an IoT device.
Right. And how about ML? Is there a killer app? I mean, I get asked a lot, what is the killer app for ML?
That was one of the most popular questions get asked these days. I think the killer apps for AI or ML is whatever we are doing today, but it was machine learning or AI just going to make it better. So with the better CPU, better GPU, and better APU like MediaTek is doing, just will make everything better, better camera, better game experience, and bring convenience and capability to do whatever we do day to day.
And gaming, I know that gaming is we talk a lot about the GPU and gaming performance. Can you say a little bit about what you think the next wave of devices are going to require in terms of gaming experience?
The requirement goes in gaming, pretty much you can say go in leap and bounce every year or very, very often. That's why we are very excited to see that Mali-G77 going to have a 40% performance improvement over the last generation GPU. And you know, people are bringing PC games and introduce that into the mobile world. And whatever we can build into the device, the game developer will find a way to use it up. So keep it coming.
So a question that's probably not go out to my engineering team. If there was an ask that you came back to the community in terms of what you needed in terms of whether it's better battery life, more performance, more ML, if there were some things that were on your wish list to build great products, what would they be?
All of the above.
I love the question.
At the end of the day, is better power efficiency
Gotcha.
for all the IPs, and I think ARM has improved that tremendously in the A77 and G77.
Okay. All right, Kevin, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Great having you on stage. Much appreciated. As I said, we've been doing business with MediaTek for many years, an extremely impressive company. I mean, everything that the company's done relative to integrating all of the IP and the SoCs and then the devices that they've built in terms of 5G and stuff. So I know from talking to Kevin from MWC earlier in the year, looks like 5G devices are right around the corner. So with that, I'm now going to turn the next half of the presentation over to my esteemed colleague, Ian Smythe, VP of Marketing, the one guy on stage who wears a tie. So, see you.
Thanks, Renee, and thanks everybody, and thanks Kevin particularly. The silicon partners that, like MediaTek, that we work with are a key part of the ARM ecosystem. But I'd like to take a little bit further, look a little bit further down the ecosystem to see how the rest of the ecosystem builds on that from a software perspective to help deliver those consumer experiences. So the complexity of the use cases that Kevin and Renee were just referring to is getting tougher and tougher to deliver. More compute all the time, but the paradigm here is that the thermal envelope and the power envelope for mobile devices isn't changing dramatically. It's a consistent level. And our challenge is how do we deliver those new experiences like AI camera, multi-user gaming, and even something as common nowadays, shall we say, as visual search, into this platform. And the answer is we've really got to look at how we deliver the performance across the hardware and the software together into the ecosystem. So if we look back about what we've done as Arm across the whole of our portfolio, but focusing first on the CPU, we can see that over the last couple of years, we've improved the performance on the ML and the CPU by over 4x, just on the hardware, by a combination of microarchitecture and architectural improvements. But when we combine that with the software development we've been doing, you can see that on today's Cortex-A76 that's shipping now, we've delivered a 28x improvement in the ML performance. The product we're announcing today, Cortex-A77, combine that with that software improvement, we will see in-device a 35x performance uplift. And this is performance that the ecosystem relies on to deliver those experiences. But accessing that performance becomes more complex. When we have scaling hardware performance, when we have provided that performance there, accessing it is a challenge. So how do we make that available to the developers in the ecosystem? We will do all the work in providing the software frameworks. ARM-N is a classic software framework. It's a standard across the industry that we've open sourced. We have invested in our compute libraries to deliver those optimized performance points. And we've looked at how we deliver the tool chains in terms of our mobile studio that we announced recently at GDC, and the developer studio, which is used heavily by our silicon partners. But one of the key ways we deliver that performance is through collaboration in the ecosystem. And I'm really happy today that we're able to invite two of our leading ecosystem partners to the stage around the ML ecosystem. These two companies are two of the world's most valuable AI startups. I'm really happy to have them here. SenseTime have developed a huge range of AI technologies such as face recognition, and that's already running on over 400 million ARM devices today. And Megvii has become one of the world's leaders in computer vision and AI. So to start, I'm really happy to invite George Wong to the stage. George is president of the International Business Group of SenseTime. George. Thank you.
So thank you, Ian. Thank you, Arm. And I don't know how many of you guys been to Arm's annual partners meeting in Cambridge. So I had the pleasure of going there last year. So I love events. They always stage world-class events. So you guys haven't been there, should try to go there. So it's fantastic. So yeah, so I'm going to take the next 5 to 10 minutes to quickly do an introduction of who we are, SenseTime, what we do, and how we partner with ARMS to create AI applications for some of the mobile devices as well. So SenseTime is an image recognition company. You can think of us as make human eyes better through deep learning platform and computing powers. And it's not just a facial recognition company, so we look at it, currently we look at 10 vertical markets. And so for example, some of the markets we are creating applications for healthcare, smart retail, education, smart city, mobile device. And these things, some of the areas we work very closely with ARM and use ARM's architect. But one of the key differentiation is that we create our own deep learning platform. It's a platform called Sense Parrots. And because of that, we're able to go into different vertical markets. And one of the other reasons that we're able to quickly move into different vertical markets or industries is that create new applications for those industries is because we're working closely with Arm. And because we have been working closely for a long time, so we understand how the architecture works, and we're able to really optimize our software and hardware to the optimal level, and able to go into different vertical markets fairly quickly. And also they have a very stable, our R&D guys are very pleased with is they have a very stable, uniform architecture. So it allows us to transplant our algorithm from one vertical application to another vertical application fairly in a relatively short period of time. So that's something that allows us to go into different markets. So the three areas that we want to talk about today is, which we use Arm's architecture quite a bit, is one is smart city, and other ones as intelligent automobile. We call it autonomous car driving internally, but also is mobile device side. In the mobile device side, one of the areas that I want to later on focus on is called the Sense Augmented Reality, Sense AR. You can see all of our products start with Sense. Sense AR, Sense Parrots. Does that make any sense? Okay. So some of the areas, so Sense AR is a 3D augmented reality platform, right? And this is where we power some of the applications, like some of you guys probably playing some games in Tencent. So we power some of the gamings from Tencent as well. Some of the special effects that from TikTok, as well as some of the emojis for many of the smartphones that we power those emojis as well. And some of the key advantages is using, it's very similar to Apple Kit, the AR Kit, and also Google's AR Quad as well. So one of the things, the key differences we have differentiated is obviously working with Arm is one of the key things, helps us quite a bit. One is efficiency and performance. And we not only powering, using AR to powering some of the high-end phones, but we're also powering the low-end and mass market, low-price phones as well. And we are one of those key, I wouldn't say only, but one of the few vendors who can do both sides. Okay, so that's very important. And also in AR nowadays, everybody talk about occlusion, right? So when you have, you can put AR objects where you can, in the front of the AR objects, also in the back of the AR objects. So we can do that. We use RGBD, we support RGBD, we also support TOF solutions as well. And also one of the things I want to very quickly mention is we are in accuracy, also robustness, and we're the leader in the world in terms of facial recognition accuracy, and we're in the 10 to the -8 type of error rate. And we have, using our own deep learning platform, we have processed over 5 billion images, obviously, so it's very accurate. Also body movement as well, right? So we're one of the leaders. Even in a very unfavorable conditions, where lights, like dim lights like this in the back side of the room, and also sometimes hidden faces, hidden half of the, a little bit hidden, is also could be traced or recognized. So in terms of AI, I want to show you a couple, just coming back to AR platform, I want to show you a couple of demos and what we have done. So this way you see a more lively demo this way. Okay, for example, this one is we try to create personal avatar. And if you're a person, you can use a smartphone, take a picture, and then you can capture all the characteristics of the person. And for example, the clothes, female, it says female, what type of clothes that she's wearing, then creates avatar, like that, okay? And if it's a live demo, you'll see if you talk, your mouth moves, all the movements, it tracks, okay? And similarly, for this is a male, it captures all the characteristics, all the clothing, colors, everything, and creates avatar. And then follows the other motions of the person, the facial recognition as well. Okay? And that's some of the things we create. It's fun, it's especially for the younger generation. And this is also quite a bit. You can see this is a Vanguard, where the key point to demonstrate this one is using our AR platform is that you can track the mouths, the facial recognition, the movement of the heads, the mouths, everything. So it's a movement tracking as well, very accurate. And we talked about occlusion. So you can see this one. This person skateboards behind the AR object as well as in front of the AR object. And that's something, for example, like in the games and everything, you have collisions. This is something we also support as well. So just some of the demos that I want to demonstrate to the audience as well. Like I said, I think AI in general, it's a technology tool, a general technology purpose tool. So obviously we could create many different applications for many different, or variety of industries. And we'll continue to work with ARM and as part of the ecosystem to create new, better applications for human beings and our society. And thank you.
Thanks, George. I mean, I see that as really impressive. And if you add the two things together, the things that René was talking about earlier today, around 4 billion smartphones as an installed base, it's not all premium smartphones. And as George just said, right, the ability to run that on all levels of smartphone, AI at all levels, is what's impressive about the ARM ecosystem. So, that said, I would now like to invite Meg V onto the stage. This is Cortex-A, the marketing director. Meg V have become one of the world's leaders in computer vision. So, Gloria.
Hello everyone, I'm Gloria from MacV. I have to use in Chinese to give my speech. OK， 首先，我来介绍一下旷视科技。旷视呢是以自主研发的机器视觉 AI 技术为核心，把感知、控制、优化赋能给 IoT 设备，实现物理世界和数字世界的智能物联，持续打造在城市大脑、供应链大脑以及个人设备大脑3大场景下的数字化解决方案。在个人设备大脑这一场景下，旷视人脸识别解锁和支付解决方案已经成功赋能在3亿台安卓手机上，最快可以在40毫秒内解锁，并且只有1/100,000的误识率。那么旷视的人脸识别解锁方案呢，主要是依托于旷视的人工智能框架 Brain++，还有我们的卷积移动神经网络 ShuffleNet。在此基础上，我们还会有一些人脸识别、注意力检测，还有像活体识别这样的技术。那么旷视的人脸识别解锁和支付方案，主要是在 ARM 的 CPU 上运行，而且运行的也是比较顺畅的。随着移动设备对于计算力的要求，旷视越来越多的算法，希望能够得到更高的性能、更低功耗的处理器的支持。在这一点上，也与 ARM 目前正在探索的 GPU、NPU 等异构架构不谋而合。未来，旷视呢作为智能物联方案专家，希望未来能够在更多场景以及更多的移动设备中与 ARM 保持密切合作，共同探索产业上游 优势互补的整合方案。That's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Laura. I think, or I hope, that shows that we have a thriving ecosystem providing all kinds of applications across all kinds of platforms throughout the mobile and beyond ecosystems. And today, kind of, ARM compute has always been at the heart of that ecosystem. It is always a fundamental part of how people have been engaging with the ecosystem, and the CPU has been at the heart of that. And as compute complexity extends and becomes more complex, how do we provide developers to access to the compute elements beyond the CPU is an interesting challenge, and it's one where ARM has a unique position to extend from the CPU into the other challenges. So our vision for the future of compute is something we like to term total compute. And this is a solution-based approach where we take the underlying hardware, we look at it from a system perspective, we integrate that with the application software and the software frameworks we talked about earlier, like ARM. We include access to the tool chains to enable developers to access that performance, debug it, and do the performance analysis. Put that all together, and that is something that we think will solve tomorrow's compute complexity problems. So that total compute strategy is going to enable a whole new future for the ecosystem. And the objective here is to make it use case driven, where we are looking at the workloads that are relevant to that whole system performance with optimization from the ground up. We are looking at how the hardware, the software, and the toolchain integrate together to provide that experience through the ecosystem, through silicon operating systems, and into the developers themselves. Our objective throughout all of this is to make it easier to access that performance that ARM will be providing throughout the whole ecosystem. And building on our three pillars of security, performance, and efficiency, we think that this total compute strategy will accelerate the delivery of those new experiences that the consumers desire. So that concludes our presentation today. Thank you very much for your time.
接下来邀请各位现场的来宾一同欣赏一段影片。And now, ladies and gentlemen, a video for you. ARM 怎么样子展现在 AI、Machine Learning、IoT 以及汽车领域的领先技术，并且建立强大的生态体系支援。So we hope this video gives you a better idea about how ARM, with its leading technology, offers better ecosystem support in AI, machine learning, IoT, and also vehicle technology. 我们接下来就马上进入今天记者会的 Q&A 时间。We will now proceed to the Q&A session. 我们再次欢迎 Renee 还有 Ian 回到台上来。Let me welcome Renee and Ian once again back to the stage. 我们待会的提问，欢迎各位媒体朋友们举手发问。发问的时候也麻烦介绍您的大名，还有所属的媒体单位，还有您想提问的来宾。So for the Q&A session, friends from the media, please identify your name and your affiliation, and please let us know who your question is directed towards. 那么待会大家提问的时候也请举手，我们的工作人员会递上麦克风。So please put your hand up. Our staff will hand you a microphone. 我们这里第一排，嘉阳这里。
你好，我是那个来自拓普的分析师，我是 CY。那两个问题想要请教，第一个问题是想要请问一下，就是刚刚前面有提到，就是 A77跟 A76，其实基本上在比较上都是采用7奈米的一个制程去做比较。那我不晓得说，在 A77这边所采用的7奈米的制程是第一代的7奈米吗，还是第二代？这是第一个问题。然后第二个问题想要请教的是说，从去年下半年到今年为止，我们看到手机在旗舰级的处理器上面的频率基本上都没有到3 GHz。那我想问一下，就是说对于这样的一个现象，ARM 的想法是什么？两个问题，谢谢。
So two questions from CY, analyst from topology. But the first question is, we were comparing Cortex-A77 with A76, and both use the 7 nanometer manufacturing process. And for Cortex-A77, in terms of 7 nanometers, is it Gen 1 or Gen 2? And that's the first question. The second question is that starting from second half of last year until this year, it seems like for the flagship cell phones, the processors are under 3 gigahertz. So my question is, what is ARM's view towards that situation? Thank you.
Okay, I'll take these. So the first one is, when we're doing the comparison between the Cortex processors, we're using the same process as a comparison. So it's an ISO process comparison, so that we can see that the 20% uplift is on ISO process. And yes, we see generations of 7 nanometer being deployed, but the numbers are independent of that. And to your second question, if I understand correctly, it's about what frequency gain we can expect with process. And at this point, we can see that for the power efficiency, then we're looking at the sub 3 gigahertz in most places around 7 nanometer.
Thank you, Ian. I think we have a question here in the first row. The lady in red.
Hi, Ian. W. Wu from Bloomberg News. So, quick question on current issue. ARM said announced last week that it is stopping contracts with Huawei. And then just out of curiosity, since ARM is not an American company, so why exactly did ARM decide to hold its partnership with Huawei, and then to what extent has ARM suspended its partnership with Huawei? Has ARM cut off all its current contract with Huawei, or it's just some bit of it? Thank you. And this is for Renee.
Hi, Debbie. The situation is very, very fluid. It's evolving very, very quickly. We're watching it very closely. Not much else, honestly, that I can say at this time. Irene and Phil are here offline and can give you some more detail.
Thank you, Renee. Any other questions? 我们在会场中间这边这位女士 ，Lady in white. Thank you.
Hello, I'm a reporter with Business Weekly in Taiwan. I have a question for Renee. So how do you see the opportunity of RISC-V in the future, and what's your strategy?
Yeah, so RISC-V is an open ISA. There are lots of ISAs out there. RISC-V is unique in that it's open source. At ARM, what we're really focused on is the ecosystem, and if you look at some of the numbers behind us, it's really kind of a testimony to what we focus on. We would not be able to achieve these kind of numbers if we were not working really closely with ecosystem partners around process, development tools, software APIs, operating systems. So we'll continue to focus on the ecosystem because we think ARM brings the
the world's largest ecosystem of people designing SoCs and basically CPUs.
Thank you. I think I saw a hand in the back. 我们刚后面是不是还有一位穿灰色的这位先生？
你好，我是新唐亚太电视的记者先生，是想跟长官请问一下，我就说刚刚有谈到那个 Total Compute， 是不是可以跟我们聊一下说这个，因为从目前终端装置看起来的需求是尤其在手机这一块是比较明显的一个放缓，那是不是在5G这一块，如果可以跟我们聊一下前景吗？是不是这方面在下半年这个，或者是我们预期是怎么样一个景气的一个展望？第二个问题呢，就是延续刚刚有前辈有提到的，就是因为美国总统川普有谈到说华为这一块是